What is going on, homies and homettes? Welcome back to another achievement hunt. This time around, we're going to be making the Emperor of Mankind proud by jumping into the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40k. Amidst the massive explosion of 40k content, Boltgun is Warhammer's first take on the boomer shooter genre. Now, full disclosure, I have never played a boomer shooter. I've been around for Duke Nukem and Doom, but I've never gotten around to playing them, or anything otherwise like Wolfenstein. And there's no better time to try a genre than when there's one that's themed after a universe you enjoy. Side note, I am a filthy Death Guard player, so this is going to be a very different take and understanding on what I'm normally used to. But for all my heretics and stinky boys out there, let me know in the comments if you think a chaos version of Boltgun would be a good idea. So without further ado, let's bolt this gun. We are playing as MacLeod, a Stern Guard veteran Space Marine of the Ultramarines chapter. For those of you that don't know what a Stern Guard veteran is, they are older than dirt, can kill you in a matter of milliseconds, and don't go down easy. It's for these reasons that our lovely Inquisitor here, that we are being sent to Graia. The objective is simple. Find the power source, take the power source. Anything that gets in our way, put in the ground.
I have my suspicions, although we have not had sufficient time to pinpoint the origin of these foul energies.
Inquisitor, short answer to your question. Taco Bell. Exhibit A. I noped the fuck out too after saying that. Now that we've landed, it's time to get started. We begin with nothing more than our handy dandy chainsword. Now for the first half of the game, I never saw how to use this chainsword properly. I thought it's just a one-time action, like a knife in Call of Duty, something like that. But it turns out I'm supposed to be mashing the chainsword button. Now, was there a tutorial that taught me this? No. If I had looked in the controllers, I could have learned this? Yes. But who looks at the controller layout? You know where I learned how to use the chainsword properly? In the loading screen, in the little tips that the loading screen gives. If you are new to Boltgun, either look at the controller layout or read those tips. Now, of course, to be as effective as I can with this achievement hunt, we are playing through the game in the Exterminatus difficulty. This means that everything hits me like a truck. You see these little bullets that all the cultists are shooting at me with? Trucks. But while finally evading the traffic that is the highway bullet hell, we find what this game is named after. No, not the wall. The bolt gun! If I wasn't a hoarder and tried picking everything else up first. With our bolter in hand, we're able to make quick work of our enemies from a distance. Now the game took a mechanic from the tabletop version that I absolutely love. You'll notice on the bottom right corner of the screen, there is a strength number attached to the bolt gun. Now if the strength is equal to the number of the toughness of the enemy, then the gun does the normal amount of damage. If the strength is higher than the enemy's toughness, they receive extra damage. If the strength is double the enemy's toughness, they receive the most amount of damage. The reverse applies too. If my strength is lower than the enemy's toughness, they receive reduced damage. If the enemy's toughness is double my weapon's strength, then they are receiving the least amount of damage. And this is just such a fun strategic thing to keep in mind while playing this game. Now so far we've encountered cultists and Chaos Space Marines. Cultists are plentiful but easy to kill. Space Marines are tougher but are easier to kill and easier to manage in later levels. Cultists are a bad time. With all their weapon variations and the sheer amount of them, they're probably going to be your number one cause of death while playing this game. They're literal bullet ants, in that there's a lot of them, I can crush as many as I can, but if they bite me, it's going to hurt like a motherfucker. Throughout the game are many secrets. These secrets are little mini power-ups for the level. They range from weapon ammunition to increased armor to increased damage. I didn't look for all of them in my initial playthrough, which ended up costing me a lot of time. But they really come in handy when I'm able to find them in a pinch. There's also the Machine Spirit, which is really handy to find early. It increases the strength of your weapon, while also increasing the magazine size. What is that? It says Plague. Nurgle? Papa Nurgle, is that you? It's here where players will have their first encounter of Nurgle, Lesser Plague Toads. And let me tell you, everything Nurgle is the bane of my existence. In particular, these plague toads, and one other enemy that we'll see in the future. These buggers tend to hop around and shoot 3 projectiles from their mouths, usually in my face. They also like to do their best lick-a-tongue impression and lick me in the face, taking more damage than every other shell I've taken to the face. Now, the most annoying and really Nurgle thing about them is for some reason, they're really tanky. It's really misleading how many shells they can take before they die. Of course, being able to aim would probably help that annoyance. Why won't you die? Easy. With the toads out of the way, we make our first encounter with the demons of Sneech. Blue and pink horrors. The pink horrors like to keep their distance and shoot you from a distance, while the blue horrors like to come up to you and get down and dirty. The issue here is the pink horrors, once you kill them, actually split up into 2 little blue horrors. The blue horrors aren't that difficult to deal with, but I tend to forget about them whenever I kill the pink horrors, so they tended to swarm me a lot. Lucky for us, we find the king of crowd control, the shotgun. Although I'm fairly sure I was using it wrong. The shotgun has a slow rate of fire but multiple projectiles per shot, meaning I can do more damage quickly, but I tended to use it for situations like this where I was surrounded, expecting the spread to kind of cause more damage than I thought it would. It also has a low strength, meaning it was only really useful in certain situations against certain demons. I'm not sure if 3 is the same strength as shotguns in the tabletop game, but let me know in the comments. The next demon on our Tzeentch roster is the Flamer. The Flamer sends 5 fireball projectiles towards you in a pentagon formation. They aren't that difficult to deal with in early levels, but later on when they start swarming you as much as the blue horrors, then it becomes a problem with pentagon fireballs flying all over you. Luckily the fireball projectiles are kinda slow, but in the future I end up running into them anyways. But Flamers are tiny goo goo gaga babies compared to the next menace on the list. God damn Nurglings. You know jockeys from Left 4 Dead? They're the space versions on Space Heroine. Because of their size, I have trouble shooting them. Because of their size and their jump, I can't chainsword them. They have the arm and accuracy of a professional NFL quarterback. So how do I deal with these things, you ask? Simple. Explosions. And our next weapon is the perfect candidate. Allow me to introduce the plasma gun. The plasma gun has a slow rate of fire and a slow moving projectile. Has a strength of 7, just like the games, and I know that because of my stinky boys. And has a small explosion radius, meaning it's perfect for crowd control like dealing with these Nurglings. Another neat thing I learned from the advice on the loading screen is that the plasma gun can supercharge, meaning that if I hold down the trigger in rapid fire, the shots are going to start increasing in damage, while also dealing a little bit of damage back to me. Now the trade-off is entirely worth it, because the 2 damage I take from my weapon is a whole 50 less damage I'll take from the enemy as long as they're dead. Now, do you remember those lesser plague toads we talked about earlier? Do you notice something important about their name? They're lesser, which means there's regular plague toads. The regular plague toads are everything a lesser plague toad is, times 5. They lick farther, they hit harder, and they shoot more. The best way I found to deal with these things equally is with the plasma gun. Very, very far away, or to avoid them like the plague toads they are. The next weapon we unlock is actually, in my opinion, the most well-rounded overall weapon that you should have. The Heavy Bolter. 200 rounds with a bottomless magazine with a 100% mortality rate. And our first volunteer for target practice are the Screamers of Tzeentch. These flying stingrays are a normal type with their only move being tackle. They become a real nuisance later when I have to dodge bullets and then they start tackling me off the ledge, but at the moment they're pretty easy to handle considering there's so few of them. The Heavy Bolter makes quick work of any enemy that isn't a boss. The one downside to this weapon is, for some reason, well kind of an obvious reason, we are slow when we're firing this weapon. This is fine now, but in later levels, speed is a really important part of surviving. In the bullet hell that this is going to become, we need to be quick and moving on our feet. There were many instances in which I was trying to outdamage the enemy, but the amount of shots I was taking while using this was more than I could handle. So the best times to use the Heavy Bolter is when the enemies are weak and you are far away, giving you enough time to not require the speed but still dodge the bullets that are coming towards you. And trust me, For the next enemy on the list, you're gonna want speed. Meet the Aspiring Champion. These axe-wielding maniacs, who maybe if we're lucky enough will end up in Dead by Daylight, are the living embodiment of tunnel vision. You wanna do something after work? Nah, I gotta go kill that guy. You wanna go watch a movie? Nah, I gotta go kill that guy. You wanna eat? Nah, I gotta go kill that guy. Do you have plans for your anniversary?
Nah, he has to go kill that guy.
And their unyielding determination isn't even the worst part of them. Once their health bar reaches 0, they begin evolving into their second phase evolution. The Chosen Champion. And not only does he have his health back, now he hits even harder and runs even faster. So how can you prevent his second evolution? Don't let go of the trigger. So long as you're using a plasma gun or newer weapon, keeping him from evolving should be no problem at all. I learned a pretty useful trick early on. If you rev up your chainsword and attack them while they're charging at you, and you back up while doing it, they won't be able to hit you, giving you that Black Ops Zombies kind of strafe back and knife method. I really don't think I would have been able to beat this game without this trick, so shout out to Black Ops. But finally, after all that hardship, all the bodies, all the bullets, we run into our first boss of the game. The Winged Giant, the Champion of Tzeentch, a sorcerer above all other sorcerers. The one, the many, the Lord of Change. If y'all are disappointed because you thought I was going to say Magnus, that's your fault. I did nothing wrong. Now don't be fooled by his glamour. The Lord of Change is not a pushover. From what I can tell, he has 3 different magic spells. This Umbrella Firestorm, this Purple Gaze of Hate, and what I can only assume is a Doom Bolt. That was lore accurate. But even with all that in his arsenal, the Lord of Change is nothing compared to a Marine. So with our good old reliable heavy bolter, we bring down the Lord of Change, earning us our very first achievement. Defeat a Lord of Change. For defeating a Lord of Change. Aha, 12 minutes in, you probably forgot that this was an achievement video. Glory indeed. With the Lord of Change dealt with, we've entered further into the world, seeing more and more of the chaos. Let me tell you, the views and effects are great. I couldn't tell you how many times I had no idea where I was going because of the effects like this on the floor. It's fantastic. The last time I ever saw an effect like this being used was in the show Chowder, and just the backgrounds, the clothing, everything was fantastic. But enough about that. How about we run into our second boss type of the game? The Chaos Sorcerer. And don't be fooled, he's just like every Chaos Marine, except he does a little bit of magic. He really isn't that bad. The worst thing about him is that he teleports around, and he has an ability where he'll basically shield himself while putting someone else as his anchor. You have to kill the anchor to be able to damage him, but most of the time he puts it on squishy units, so it's not that bad. With the Sorcerer defeated, we then complete Chapter 1, earning us 2 achievements. Chapter 1 complete for completing all the missions in Chapter 1, and Find All Secrets Chapter 1 for finding all the secrets in Chapter 1. Simple. We now find ourselves in a desert biome for Chapter 2. There isn't much difference from what we faced in the first chapter, but we encounter some new enemies. The first of which brings oh so much joy to my horrible decrepit heart. Ladies and gentlemen, the stink boy favorite, the Float Drone. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed seeing this for the first time, but something that's nice about these things is they're kinda useless. The only firing pattern that I could tell that they have is they shoot both of their plague spitters in a straight line in front of them. So the easy way to avoid them is just turning over to the right. The other new enemy we encounter is actually something I've never heard of before, but I like to nickname it the Rancor. I introduce you to the Amble. I have no idea what the fuck this thing is, but it acts and hits like Truck-kun trying to send you into your isekai. Luckily he has the same weakness as the Bloat Drone. Either sidestep or go up high. A really cool detail that I won't notice until later on is the Ambles will actually fight the forces of chaos. Yeah, this thing can be your sidekick until you kill them, then he turns on you. Our next weapon is actually going to help us combat that. Behold, the Vengeance Launcher. The best way to describe this weapon is a Model M32 shooting 40mm of explosive Emperor Justice. It has a low strength number for some reason, but the explosion does more damage than most of the other weapons in my arsenal, so I don't know how to explain that, it just works. I nicknamed the Ambles Rancors because they kind of look like them. Now this thing is the Bull Rancor, twice the size, more aggressive, and hurts a lot more. Thankfully, it dies just like the rest of them. The next 2 weapons we unlock in our arsenal are great. All the weapons we've used so far have been a great help with all these smaller enemies, but it's been a real pain trying to deal with the Terminators and definitely the higher level demons. Our first big help is the Volkite Caliber. This lovely death ray has a strength of 6 and a high fire rate. It also seems to stun lock whatever I'm shooting at. I'm not entirely sure if this is a feature or not, but I definitely abused it. Because it doesn't just stun the mini-bosses like Terminators and the higher demons, no, it stuns everything. Our next weapon is our anti-boss bread and butter, the Melted Gun. I don't really get how the ammo works for this weapon. It holds 10 rounds, but it takes charges of 5 every time I shoot, so technically I only have 2 rounds. I don't know why they didn't just have it have 2 rounds of 2 like a double barrel shotgun, but whatever. Maybe someone can explain that to me in the comments. My favorite part about the Melted Gun is the rounds continue, no matter what. They go through everything. I think I saw a tip on the loading screen saying that. Man, I just love how you actually learn things in the loading screen. One of the few things I didn't learn from my loading screen is that the next type of boss we encounter is a great unclean one. And living up to his reputation, he is by far the hardest thing that you will ever face in this game. He has 3 main sources of attack. His infinite bile shots, worse than the plague toads. His nurgling spit up where he just empties his stomach with all the nurglings he's been holding inside. And his stupid fat air slash. I think it's safe to say that the thing that killed me most throughout this entire game is that stupid attack. It ignores terrain and cover, tracks me from the position that I was at, so the only way that I'm going to be able to avoid these things is if I preemptively jump and duck. Or duck and jump. I only have 1 second to react because somehow that giant tub of lard is able to shoot 2 shots at me before I can do anything about it. Like seriously, whoever put this guy in the game, give him a raise. He knows what he's doing, taking the tabletop version annoyance being just as annoying in this game. Seriously. Fuck this guy. But after dealing with all those shenanigans, all those busted ass abilities, we're finally able to bring down the Great Unclean One and get the achievement, Defeat the Great Unclean One. For defeating the Great Unclean One. Brilliant. With some more missions cleared out, we finally reached the final boss for Chapter 2. And oddly enough, as I'm recording this, I realize that there's kind of a recurring pattern of what the final boss is going to be. So I wonder what the final boss is going to be in Chapter 3. The world may never know. But for now, we're going to put an end to Lord Moldy Butt. And for completing Chapter 2, we earned the achievements Find All Secrets, Chapter 2, and we also earned the achievement Chapter 2 Complete. Chapter 3 was a rinse and repeat of Chapter 2, the only difference being, I'm being shot with a lot more heresy. And when I say a lot, I mean a metric fuck ton. It was at this point where I decided to go with the speed trumps armor. So you know what? I jumped, dashed, and ran my way past as many enemies as I could. Because on this difficulty, there is no way in hell that I'm going to be able to make it to the end while killing everything. At least, not without the help of a little certain something. I give you the grav cannon. Cut that out. Cut it now! Now the best way to describe this is with 2 words. Hello?
Ultimate power.
I don't know what kind of Futurama dark matter bullshit this thing shoots, but I'll tell you what, I like it. I got some Spider-Man 2 power of the black hole in the palm of my hand type shit. Doesn't matter what enemy's in front of this thing. Whatever it is, it won't be able to handle a whole mag dump of it. Of course, the one issue with our new God Gun is we have limited ammo. And it eats ammo fast as fuck. But even so, with our complete arsenal, we push our way to the final boss, Lord Moldy Butt. Now if you remember the last time we fought a Lord Moldy Butt, you'll remember that they tether themselves to a unit, so they can't be damaged until that unit is killed. Seems simple enough, we did it once before. Well, this time around, since him being the final boss, his tether is a great unclean one. And you already know I hate these things. Love to field them, hate to face them. I mean, just look at this thing. It's eating melta shots to the face like candy. But with our multiple hours of training, skill, and acquired experience, we finally bring down the great unclean one with the grav cannon. And with the real threat dealt with, we deal with Lord Moldy Butt. Only for him to come back and spawn a Lord of Change for his fucking anchor now. But Super Ultra Mega Chicken is still just a chicken in the face of our arsenal. So we turn him into one of Colonel Sanders' finest, and put an end to Lord Moldybutt for the final time. And with his demise, we get a plethora of achievements. We get Chapter 3 complete, Find All Secrets Chapter 3, The Emperor Protects, My Armor is Contempt, Emperor's Mercy, and Exterminatus. But the journey doesn't end there. No. We have DLC. Forges of Corruption. Let's hop right into it. With this DLC, we unlock 4 new weapons and encounter new enemies. First new weapon we get is the Missile Launcher. The Missile Launcher, for some reason, has a really odd low strength. But the strength doesn't matter because it's got that explosion boost and also a ton of splash. The Multi-Melta, which you guessed it, shoots multiple rounds of Melta at the same time. My new anti-boss weapon. And general purpose Screen Sweeper. These new weapons came in really handy against the new boss type. The Hellbrute. This beautiful abomination, just like in the tabletop, doesn't have much going for him. He doesn't hit as hard as a Great and Clean One, he doesn't survive as long as a Great and Clean One, and he doesn't spawn things like a Great and Clean One. So with little hassle, this poor guy goes down easy. Completing the mission and giving us the achievement Rage Incarnate for defeating a Hellbrute. And then finally, after slogging through 7 missions, we finally reach the final mission of the Forges of Corruption. We grill the Chicken of Change. We scrub the Great Unclean One from the planet with the Emperor's Cleansing Flames. Finally destroy the Demon Forge, ridding the planet of the Chaos Corruption. And with that, the story of Boltgun is complete. We earned the achievements Find All Secrets, Forges of Corruption, The Emperor Still Protects, There Is Only War, Mercy Extended, and Contempt Maintained. With all that done, we have one final hurdle. Horde mode. – 12 rounds of enemies, 3 boss waves, who knows how many enemies killed. I've spent 27 hours training for this final challenge. All this training, all this speed, all this dedication, all to die on round 6 to a Great and Clean One. Fuck it. My new strategy to get through this is go into the accessibility options of this game, turn on infinite ammo, and turn on all guns accessible. And in the wise words of the Emperor, kill all sons of bitches. And with that, we get the achievements Duty Fulfilled for the Emperor, and Let None Survive. Thus, we complete all the achievements and get the blue ribbon for Boltgun. All in all, this was a very enjoyable game. This was my first introduction into a boomer shooter, and let me tell you, I really enjoyed it. If you're looking to pick it up or introduce it to a friend, definitely wait for a Steam sale. The $20 it's currently worth isn't necessarily what I would say is worth it, but definitely enjoyable, especially with the aesthetic of it being Warhammer. So for all of you that made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite 40k faction. If you have any requests for future achievement hunts, let me know. If you want to help me out in some of these achievement hunts, let me know. It's a big help, and one of the games that you'll be seeing soon was a big issue with I needed help. So with that, y'all have a good day, and game on.